Alright, I have in my hands the last cushion of the cushion project. Okay, so cushions are done. This is what they look like. And then over on the other side, I did the pillows as well. And all the cushions up here in the V berth. Got a bunch of stuff in there, but that's what those look like. And then again, back here in the quarter berth, excuse all the stuff I've got stuffed in there. And if you can make that out, I don't know, it's dark back there, but there are three cushions that make up the quarter berth, and there those are. Some things that I opted not to do. I decided not to put the buttons on there. There were buttons, and the buttons, I think actually the main purpose they served was to keep this piece attached firmly to the wood. But what I did instead is sewed it a little bit higher to where it comes over the edge, and that seemed to totally fix that. So I decided I'm not going to put buttons in there because I don't like the look of the buttons, and I always get them caught on stuff. So this is the way it's going to stay. I still have to do the backs of this. Still working on the staple issue, what staples to use. Now with the staples, these are just regular Arrow T50 staples. The staples that were in there were smaller. They weren't, these are this top part of the staple is called the crown. And I've done tons of research on staples over the last couple days to see what the best ones for this are. But the last ones that, this crown part on a T50 staple is, I think it's like 20 gauge wire or something like that. And that's like the thickness of it going this way. This way it's 3/8 of an inch. The ones I took out were a little thinner, probably like a little less than like a 1/4 inch, or about a quarter, maybe no, a little more than a 1/4 inch, going across the crown this way. And they weren't very visible. In this fabric, as you can see, they're going to be a lot more visible, just because this fabric is also not as cushiony, or whatever you want to, not as thick as the last fabric was. So the staples are going to be visible, but they're in the back, so you never see them. So I'm trying to figure out like what's the best looking staple to get for this, because there's going to need to be staples all along this edge that go all around here that hold that piece in there. And the other thing I need to find are stainless steel staples, because regular staples like these are not the best thing to use because they can rust out on a boat. So I need to get stainless steel staples. I'm probably going to have to get a different staple gun, because these are the T50 staples, and I have of course the default piece of crap Arrow T50 staple gun, which I think is the most well-known staple gun that you can get, but also the biggest piece of crap staple gun I've ever owned. So I may get another one that shoots smaller staples. I ended up having enough cloth plus some left over, enough of the fabric. So I've got probably about a yard or so left over after all that. So it's pretty good estimate, I think, overall. So some reflections on the cushion project. So to kind of recap the cushion project, what we did is back in I guess October, during the Annapolis sailboat show, I bought one of the Sailrite portable industrial sewing machines, or whatever you want to call them. But I bought a Sailrite sewing machine just because I knew I wanted to do this project, and plus there's lots of other canvas and sails and everything else that needs sewn. So I decided to go ahead and get that Sailrite sewing machine. I have some experience sewing. I have a small like home type use sewing machine. I've had a couple of them through the years. I've sewn a lot of different things, little bags for my bike and different things like that. So I kind of knew what I was doing, but not like 100%. I've never done anything this big before, especially in terms of upholstery and cushions and putting zippers in and stuff like that. So that was all kind of new. I really enjoyed the project overall. I had fun sewing these. It's kind of fun when you start out with like some fabric and you end up with a thing like this. I mean, I think this looks pretty good. This one has piping and everything on it. It looks fairly professional. So I always think that's kind of fun when you start out with nothing and you end up with something. So I had fun doing it, and I would like to do more. And as far as the boat goes, there's some canvas that needs fixed. There's canvas that covers the wheel in the pedestal area, which I'm going to have to fix because it's got some problems. So I think I have enough canvas right now to replace all the parts that are bad on it. And I did a repair to the bimini before I started the cushion project, and I put the bimini on yesterday. That looked great. The Dodger. The other thing that I want to do is right now the sail cover that I have is just kind of like a regular sail cover for the mainsail that goes over the boom. And I want to put, I think they're called stack packs or whatever, something like that, where they attach to the bottom of the boom and then they come up, and then the sail just drops inside of them, and then you can just zip them closed. So it's a lot easier for sail management and stuff. So I want to see if I might try to make something like that next, and which would be a fairly big project, but probably not as big as the cushions. Overall, I enjoyed the sewing and plan on doing some more. And I'd like to actually I'd like to do more upholstery, more cushions. So if anybody out there wants help sewing cushions, I'd be willing to help you out, just because I'd like to get some more practice doing cushions, if you don't mind an amateur sewing your cushions. Alright, so today and yesterday I spent some time cleaning the outside of the boat to the top sides, putting some fiberglass cleaner on there, try to clean it up a bit because it's pretty dirty sitting all winter without being washed. Now I also brought on the dinghy and the dinghy motor, put that on there where I usually keep it, and I'm going to attempt now to fire up the engine and see what the engine does. And it hasn't been started all winter, so usually the first time it's a little hard to start. So let's see what she does. Alright, so far so good. Everything looks like it should. We made it out sailing today. It's Friday and it's really windy, so hopefully you can hear in the microphone okay, but we made it out, first time of the season, and we're just kind of messing around out here in Annapolis Harbor. We got a big cruise ship over there to our port side right now. It's not a big cruise ship, but it's called the American Constitution, and I think it goes out of Baltimore. And then there's a couple other like little rainbow type sailboats that are out here today, and then a few power boats. It's pretty cold. It's 60 degrees on shore, and it probably feels like about 50 out right now with the wind blowing. We've got about 15 knot winds or so, and I just have right now the main is all the way up, and I have the staysail up, so I didn't put out the general yet, but the main's all the way up. I'm having a problem with the second reef. For some reason there's a bit of it sticking out the back of it, and I can't figure out why it's not coming in, so I have to look at that later. But there's the main up, fully up, and the staysail is out. So we'll probably head back in here soon, because the winds are supposed to get worse as we go through the day, so we want to get in the dock before the winds get really bad. So we made it out today, and now next thing is to see if we can get docked without hitting anything. All right, we are back in the slip with our first sail of the season, and I'm in the midst of tying lines back, getting us secured back to the dock, getting all the fenders out, and I got to get the sail cover back on. And I might try to mess around with this reef. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So the reef, these are two red and blue lines are reef lines, which reduce the size of the sail. And for some reason, this one that's sticking out, the boom back in the back there, should not be sticking out back there. It actually pulls in somewhere up front. So it's getting stuck somewhere up here, I think. So it's not that one, it's not that one. Yeah, so one of those I can't figure out which one is supposed to be moving. It moves a little bit, so it's definitely doing something. But I'll have to mess around with that, try to get that back in where it goes. Get the sail back up here flaked on the boom properly, and then get the cover on. Now the other thing I was talking about yesterday were stack packs. I mentioned maybe doing that. This boat currently has what's called the Dutchman system, and the Dutchman system is this thing right here. It's these lines, and the lines go all the way up to the backstay up there. And actually it's not a backstay. Yeah, no, they're not going to the backstay. They're going to the boom's tail piece, whatever you call that, topping lift for the boom, whatever you call that on the back. And this little, it's like a big thick fishing line, goes through the sail in several spots. When you put it down, it's supposed to flake nicely. It does an okay job. Kind of gets in the way sometimes though, so I'm kind of like, if I did a stack pack, I'd have to take that off because you can't do both of them at the same time. But I've seen like with stack packs, there's some disadvantages to that, but it seems like that's what most people have. So it might be the best option. The last boat that we had lazy jacks, and I didn't really like them that much because they would get in the way a lot, especially when raising the sail, unless you like got them out of the way, like way out of the way. So that's what I'm talking about, is something to do to cover this. I have the sail cover I'm going to put on there here in a second, and then some option to replace that. But let's put the sail cover on. Alright, so that is it for this week. And this is, I guess, the first video I've done in a while. And what I'll do is I'll call this like the second season, I guess. So for this season, what I have in store is probably more boat projects, because there's bound to be boat projects throughout the year, and a couple more sewing things that I want to do. Fixing this cover for the wheel is one of those things, and anything else that pops up. And we'll probably get out maybe on a couple trips over the summer, a couple small trips if we can, and then of course throughout the spring on the weekend trips as we can, as weather permits. So that's all I got for this week. And one other thing I wanted to add is that we just passed 100 subscribers on the channel. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who has subscribed and who watches the videos and who clicks like, thumbs up, whatever it is that you do. Thanks for doing that, because now we have more than 100 subscribers and increasing every day, hopefully. So that's all for today. See you all later.